Hey y'all, it's Chanelle from the Challenge USA 2. I'm here on the Zach Nichols podcast, and we are talking all the shit.
Welcome back to the Zach Nichols podcast. Here with my co-host, Mr. Zach Nichols.
Do it. Let's hear it.
Bob boom, Bob bing.
I wish I had played when I worked out.
Okay, I'm gonna have to send speakers to your house. Yeah. We have another challenge finalist in the building. Survivor contestant, Miss Chanelle Howell. Hey.
All the way from the real Big Apple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're not one of those people that like lives in Brighton and says, "Hey, I'm from Detroit."
Yeah. No, you're claiming it because you live right in Manhattan. Is that factual?
Yeah, it's factual. I live in the best city in the world.
Wow. Well, I mean, you could claim it, but
Not debatable.
Definitely not the best. Definitely not the best basketball team here in Detroit. The Knicks aren't much better. We're at the Pistons game last night. We got shellacked by your favorite player, LeBron James.
I hate LeBron James. I can't stand LeBron James.
Well, he gave us the business at 38 years old. Literally just dominated us. How was the game? Did you have fun?
Y'all got whooped.
Yeah,
but you know what? I'm used to it because I'm a Knicks fan.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, you're a Knicks fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I live in the city. Why not? You know.
Is that so? You're from the city?
Nah, no. I'm from Connecticut.
Oh,
I moved to New York about 6 years ago, just because like it's like the closest big city to me, and I think that's just like the natural move, when you want to leave your hometown. So
like Chicago for us.
Yeah,
correct.
Exactly.
I almost said Chirac.
Hopefully we're past those days.
I caught myself.
Yeah. So is that like is that the tri-state area?
Yeah,
is that right?
tri-state.
So what is that? Like the tri-state area?
It's Connecticut, Jersey, New York.
Okay,
But like, we have the imposters from like Jersey, Hoboken.
Yeah, I was gonna say Jen always says Hoboken. She's like, that's not the city.
No.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Michelle knows all about that.
I was gonna say, man, I believe that's a Michelle thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They try and claim the city. No, you're from Jersey.
Yep. Well,
you had to take the ferry.
Yeah, if
But the ferry is actually kind of luxury. Like, not gonna hold you.
Oh, I don't do, because Jen is from New York, so I've spent time there. I can't do the city. I struggle there.
Yeah. No, it's fair.
Like, I've never been in the subway.
Wow.
Nothing's more
That's a
frightening to me
travesty.
than looking at the air coming out of there and like the subway. I follow subway creatures. So I'm like, that's enough for me.
Yeah, the subway is a very interesting place. Like, you have seen it all, but the crazy thing is you're so jaded. So like, someone will walk in, they'll do like a big old performance in front of you, and you're just, and you like look down, and you just keep moving, because you're so used to the craziest shit on the subway. It's like,
no shit.
Yeah,
that thing is crazy.
Well, you've experienced the depths of South America and Eastern Europe, but you won't ride a New York subway.
No. Oh no.
That tells you everything you need to know about Zach in the city.
Yeah. I mean, listen, if you live there, subway is the most efficient way to get around. It's quick. It's traffic like crazy in the city. So you get used to it, but obviously like it's another world.
And that's a time is money thing, as we know in the final. Time is money.
Fact.
So I've heard that there are down underneath New York City, there are subway spots and stations that are just abandoned, not used anymore.
I'm sure.
That's insane.
I'm sure.
There's like a whole nother world going on. That's where the Ninja Turtles live.
Yeah, literally.
Like that's really something that goes on down there.
Yeah.
Like they'll just be like, we're not using this anymore. Underneath New York City has to be insane, like Swiss cheese. And that's an island.
It's crazy. Men in Black.
New York City is insane.
Yes.
The way I explain it to people is when you're outside, it's the only place where I've ever been like outside, but you feel like you're still indoors sometimes.
Yeah.
Wow, that's like a
because the buildings.
Yeah. You know what the crazy thing is too? Like there's a whole underground like type of world. I can get from like 40th Street to 50th Street completely underground, not even having to come up for air.
That's crazy.
Just walking.
That's why they say New York is like literally its own culture.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get into more about New York and all the personal stuff, but you brought up Michelle, so we're going to talk about USA 2 and everything you got going on.
Yeah.
But real quick, definitely want to give you another round of applause for making a final in your first challenge. Come on, G, give it to her one time.
Thank you. Honestly, did not think I was going to make the final. Like when I first started, I said, girl, just don't go home first. Like
that for sure.
Just don't go home first. And then I got like a little bit further. I said, oh, I can make it to the halfway point. That might be enough for a callback. Like, okay. And then once we got to the halfway point, I was like, man, my path looks clean.
Oh yeah.
It looks clear. I was like, just make it to a final. And then once I got to the final, I was like, why not?
Yeah, throw it all out on the table.
It's right now.
Yeah.
it was a fun ride watching. You were able to go through a whole game without being voted into elimination once. So the reason I bring that up is because, and I make a very big point to say, like, before I started covering this stuff, I didn't put enough emphasis on your political game and what it takes to make it to a final. So,
mastered the Homer Simpson.
Yeah.
You know that gif where like he just sinks back into the bush? That's exactly what you do. It's like, oh, time to vote.
Well, yeah. Well, I bring that up
I gotta
because
go to the bathroom.
a couple people have said behind the scenes you were one of the most vocal people making stuff happen. So I am going to jump around with that question.
Yeah, they
This is
said you were like Wendy Williams.
Yeah.
Getting up, you had the coffee going, you had the conversations.
Yeah.
They were waking up and you were like, you know, a couple pots of coffee and 2 packs of cigs deep.
Yeah.
Street conversating.
Talk to us about making TV.
I was up early. Listen, every morning I was the first one up. I'd go upstairs, look around, take a lap, see who's up. Nobody's up. Maybe Michaela was up, Monty was up, but no.
How early did your day start?
I don't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no
What is
like,
time?
Oh, really?
So yeah, so you can have a watch, you just can't bring it to elimination rounds. A lot of people don't bring them. I would always bring one because that would be my alarm in the morning.
Got you.
So I always knew when I would wake up, but like that's the weird thing is like you really don't know what time you go to bed either.
Right. Well, you know what? Eventually we did get clocks, and I will say like very consistently, bedtime was like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Like because especially eliminations, they don't start until 10 p.m.
Yeah, you don't get
you
back
know,
sometimes.
like
Yeah.
11 p.m. and then you get back from eliminations at what, like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
Then everybody's got to make a frozen pizza. You got to have a little bit of wine. You got to talk about what just went down, and then all right, it's time to wind down. It's 2 a.m.
Yeah,
you know.
that is true. And then if you go out, you're getting back around that time anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's crazy insight. And then you think, so you get up early, you're the first one kind of at it, ready to make stuff happen?
Yeah, I mean, I like to, it's interesting because Survivor is different from the challenge. Survivor, if you catch someone up, you want to have a strategy session, you want to talk. It is so interesting playing with the vets because y'all don't talk strategy like that. Like I remember Bananas was one of my closest male allies in the game. And this man would be like, I'm not talking strategy. Like he just would not do it. But I appreciated Wes because he did talk a lot of strategy with me. And yeah. And like, honestly, Wes doesn't get enough props and credits because like he taught me so much about the game while in it that I didn't get from a lot of other vets. But yeah, so I would just get up early in the morning. I'd like, you know, chit chat, build rapport, really talk to people, see how they're feeling on a personal level though, right? So that when it's time to talk strategy, I know that you like me, you trust me, we have a relationship.
You can't just come in and be like, so what about the game? People have to like you first.
Yes.
You know? I think a lot of people make the mistake of only talking game and people pick up on that. And then that's when people are saying, well, they said this to me. You kind of got to get that trust going. And then once that trust is there, maybe try to get them to bring it up to you. Yeah. And let them give you the information. So you're just there kind of jiving with them, making conversation. And they're like, whoa, Chanelle's cool. Like, I'm down with this. And then all of a sudden they're giving
mix that in with some good performances in the challenges. Boom, boom. Okay, now there's some equity in this girl.
Exactly.
So you talked about Johnny and Wes. Talk to us about how you see their games being different, even though they're both at high levels. And I did meet Johnny over the past weekend. I got this hat from. If you live in Florida, go check out Rumble Boca. I had to, you know what I'm saying, rep it. He gave me some time, so I wanted to make sure I give him some shine. You know what I mean?
Like top 20 most interesting men in the world.
Who, me?
Yeah, just always on the move. Like in Detroit, filming a podcast one day, Thanksgiving, eating turkey, and then he's like Miami. So,
Miami, Fort Lauderdale. I'm Boca Raton. I tried to make it. I made my trip worth it. Fam time first.
Always.
Then we got to business. So no, it was good. But talk to us about what's different about the way they approach the game, Johnny and Wes.
It's interesting. So I went into the game knowing everyone's reputations. And obviously, before I went into the game, I got all these DMs on Instagram and Twitter. Don't trust the vets. Get them out first. Da-da-da-da. Like, you know, you feel like a little bit hyped up by the fans. So you just like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna get the vets out. Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then also, y'all are good. Like
That's yeah.
like good. Like I mean,
Like gym class hero good.
yo,
Yeah.
it's absolutely like masterful.
Were you actually
watching.
like surprised like to see like the level of athleticism and then just smarts in the game?
Yes, blown away.
Mm-hmm.
Blown away. The level of just like strategy when you see Johnny and Wes, and those are the two that I was paying attention to, analyze a challenge and be like, this is what you have to do. This is how you break it down. It happens instantaneously. And it is so impressive to watch in person because I'm like, yo, I would have never thought about that.
Yeah,
you
smart
know?
people to watch. 20 years plus for both of those guys. I mean, those are the goats.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I would say the interesting thing that I appreciated about like Wes's game, which is he taught me something, which was like how important it is to be able to pivot. Because I went in there guns blazing, like I'm about to get these vets out. I'm not playing with none of them. And I think you see the one deliberation where I'm like going at it with Josh.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of like in that fight by myself. And I had to think like, man, this is a really short-sighted game to be very much targeting the vets with no underlying relationships. It's just like it's just bad gameplay, you know? And through my conversations with Wes, because I was really targeting him at first, I was able to build a really strong alliance with him, which was really great that, you know, not a lot of people knew about. But I think that it protected me, you know, a little bit later in the game. So
Yeah, like
For sure.
almost like you went in and instantly you burned a couple bridges. And then
Yeah.
you're like, well, wait a second.
yeah.
I'm gonna rebuild a few of these
Yeah.
because it's not necessarily your main alliances that get you further in the game.
That part.
It's like this little like side deal. It's like, okay, like I may not be playing the game step for step with Wes, but we have a mutual understanding here.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so if he wins, I
Yeah.
know that we're close enough that I'm not going to be his first target. Whereas if you would have kept those walls up, now you're all the vets' first choice.
Yeah, exactly. And then with Johnny was more unspoken. Like I liked him. He started off on the red team, which was really great for me. But with him, I didn't have to check in with him every week. It wasn't like we're gonna have a strategy session. Who are you thinking? All of that stuff. It was just
Yeah.
more so like, I know that I'm not gonna touch him. He's not gonna touch me. We're good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
when you have that type of relationship, it seems like you know you're really only going to be the vote if you're like the obvious choice. Where like, hey, they're friends with A, B, and C that are obvious. Then it's me. Okay, at least I'd rather be there than at the bottom of it. And also, I thought it was really interesting to hear that behind the scenes stuff about you and Wes because I was critical of Wes. I was saying the Wes that I know is making deals right now with the younger and the newer people. And he's like to me, bro, you don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
He's like, that is happening. He's like, he pretty much guaranteed that it was happening.
You know who else did a good job of that too? Is Corey.
Yeah.
Corey probably had a majority of his conversations off camera.
Yeah.
Because you knew he was good with everyone. You saw a couple, they tried to highlight him from like the surveillance camera talking to, I think, either you or Desi in the kitchen, maybe both.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could tell he was doing that too.
Yeah. Talk about your relationship with Corey and like how like rank. How about this? Let's do this. Wes, Corey, Bananas, and I know you want to
Yeah.
do future challenges.
How about this? Let's just say it got to a point in the game where you had to throw in Wes, Corey, or Bananas.
Oh,
Who would it? Because that sometimes that happens.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Like honestly, I can't even answer that.
Those are probably the hardest parts of the challenge. where
Yes.
You have to choose between three people who you're good with and or have made deals with.
Yes. Like I don't even know what I would have done. And the thing is, once we hit the halfway point of the game where we all got our black jerseys, I was like, my strategy was I'm going to have my top four and my top four guys,
Yep.
my top four girls. And once one of them went home, someone else stepped into the top
Yeah.
four spot.
Oh yeah, you had like a roster.
Yeah, exactly. And so like I didn't think that there would have to be a time where I would have to make that decision.
Yeah.
Which is great because honestly, I don't know who I would have chosen. I had very different but equally as valuable relationships with all three of them.
So you always basically you had your people that you were never going to touch,
Yeah.
and then you had your scapegoat.
Yeah.
Which is a really good way to play it. And then
Yeah.
you just basically hedge your bets, hopefully. But the best part about that is you can still know who your scapegoat is
Yeah.
and just butter them up and get a relationship with them. So
Right.
they may not say your name, but you know you have to say theirs in a situation.
Yeah. So it's key. So key.
Yeah.
So talk to us about how. No, you're good. So talk to us about how Chris went from being on the inside with the survivors to like everyone hating him and wanting him to go home for 5 weeks in a row until the very last week.
Yo, I'm gonna be real. There was never a Survivor Alliance. Like There was never a Survivor alliance.
Keep it real.
Fam, like, I think that that's like great TV, but like, I didn't trust Cassidy. I didn't trust Chris. I didn't trust Sebastian. I did trust Michelle. I did trust Michaela and Desi. But really, like, from the beginning, the blue team, which was Sebastian, Chris, and Cassidy, wildly protected for so much of the first part of the game.
Right.
So while me and Michelle and Desi and Michaela were scrambling, we're building relationships, we're making deals, we're putting all that work in up front. I remember it would be like challenge days, and we'd see Cassidy and Chris and Sebastian taking shots like, hey, let's turn up, let's get in the hot tub. I'm like, baby, we have elimination in a couple hours. No,
Right.
like, you know,
Yeah.
or like everyone's partying at the club, and I'm like, I'm not drinking. I might have to go in tomorrow.
Right.
And so it's so interesting to see how the game evolved, where you see the people who were the least protected in the beginning were the most protected in the end, versus the people who were the most protected, largely on the blue team in the beginning, were going in over and over and over,
Right.
because I feel like they didn't have to have that equity up front that we did.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part about is we used to have like one theme and ride that.
Yeah.
So imagine being on a show where like that was the theme where now you're scrambling the whole time. That's what the beauty of like the shakeup is. When you change, like, okay, we're gonna go from teams to individual. It does. It literally takes you from a very safe spot in the game to like,
Yeah.
you know,
Anything can
now it's
happen.
different. Yeah.
It's so crazy what you said that. And Michaela and Desi, I think both said something similar, which is like you guys looked at each other and said like, no, like we made it to this point, having to, you know, scrap and make a deal or going to elimination for some of the girls every single week. And, you know, you've had this slide all the way to halfway. Now you're gonna work for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, like like I feel like I scrapped. The red team was awful, like unequivocally just bad.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, like it was. And the thing is, we had such good athletes. We just didn't have that synergy, you know? And so like I feel like I was fighting for my life every single time. And the thing is, I see a lot of the discourse online, like Chanelle kind of slid or whatever. Like, fam, I did not slide. I, like, from a social standpoint, worked my ass off. I think we see a lot of me, Desi, Michaela kind of like playing together. And it's easy to see for us to kind of get, for me specifically, to get lost in the shadows or lost in translation. But like, truly, I was the person. You have like the CEO of a company, but then you have the chief of staff who's behind the scenes, putting everything together, sewing it together. I was like that person. I was like, I'm pulling this person, they're not going to touch you. I promise you this, you know? And so like, I really had to work behind the scenes in a way that's so nuanced that you can't always tell it on screen.
Political players typically will get that rap.
Yeah.
Like, or if you're, you know, they don't, there's different types of work. Just because you're not doing it in front of the camera in the sand doesn't mean you're not playing the game and putting in the work.
Yeah.
And social political players will get that rap more often than not. And I laugh because it's like the person that gets thrown in all the time always has this speech that's like, well, there's people here who haven't earned it. Like, you're supposed to be like, oh yeah, sure. Let me go put my stake in the game on the line because you don't know how to have conversations or how to read a room.
Yeah.
'Cause that's my fault. Everyone has a different path to the final. I think I've done it twice where I didn't go into a single elimination round and made it to the end.
Beautiful.
But that's not
perfect gameplay.
right. Did I slide? Yeah, away from elimination rounds. But like there was a ton of work that went into that not going in.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just good gameplay.
Yeah.
Right. It's a different style of game. And just because you're not seeing me drag someone through the sand doesn't mean I'm not putting in equal amounts of work.
Yeah.
You know?
I love that. Let me ask you this now. Who from your era does that kind of remind you of? A social player that played a great social game and good enough, you know, where they could kind of make it happen without having to go in that often?
Well, Devin, she made it to 2 challenges, 2 finals. She went in her first one because it was a rookie season, and she won her elimination rounds. And then her second one, she made it to a certain point, and then all the girls were like, we're going to protect her because we want her in the final. That's still a social move. Like, sure, take me there because of whatever, but
I'm not going to beat you.
Yeah.
Just bring me.
Trying to think other really good social players. Well, I'm trying to there's a lot of good social players, but like to have not gone into an elimination round. I mean, CT does it really well.
Yeah.
CT does a really good job of, again, having conversations and not pushing, but getting information and then using it. Because what CT will actually do is get a bit of information and then he'll go start a fire and walk away.
Yeah.
He'll take that information, start a fire and walk away, and then watch everything explode. So like that's more of like a maniacal way to do it. But I mean, that's like making it to, like Michelle does that. She's good at social.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good social players.
There's a bunch
but,
of good
like,
ones. Who would you say besides yourself? Like, and first, actually, one more thing before I ask this question.
Yeah.
After meeting Michaela, love her. After meeting Desi, also love her. You're by far the one that could probably make more relationships, and I'll tell you that because both of them are to themselves.
Yeah.
They really are. Amazing people. They take a second to like break through. Once you break through, they're like your best friends.
Yeah.
But like, how hard is it to break? I feel like you do a better job of making the relationship off rip.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I
it
guess-
just makes perfect sense how the three of you together, once it was known that you're a group, would all balance each other out.
Well, and I guess the thing I'm saying is to do it your rookie, your first season of the challenge, to not go into an elimination round. So Kyle, actually, that is the perfect example because Kyle did his first season and was the same way. It was just social butterfly. Everybody loved him. He didn't go in because it didn't make sense. He won a couple right away. So he was in a power seat. And then everyone was like, dude, this guy's hilarious. He's the man. Like everyone just liked him so much that he made it all the way to a final. That is so you and Kyle are the only people that I know that I can think of that have done that.
Yeah.
And that's really impressive because most of the time when you're a rookie, you take your licks and then you come back and people are like, okay, like proved themselves. Now you can play that social game. But you just came in right off the rip and you were like, okay, like let me do this.
Yeah,
That's impressive.
You know what's
you and Kyle.
You know what's crazy about it too? I remember when we all first got together as a cast, I thought of myself as an extrovert, but when I got around the vets, I said, yo, no way. Like I'm an introvert. Like I don't know what I thought I was.
They can turn it on.
Y'all are like next level. Like it's
yeah.
crazy.
Well, again, I attribute that to the fact that you've done 2 seasons of Survivor, right?
Just one.
Just one. So you did 1 season of Survivor and then you did 1 season of the challenge.
Yeah.
Okay, I've done Altogether, The Real World, Champs for Stars, and I think I did 11 challenges. So that's 13 different television shows.
Yeah, true.
So when I first started doing it, I was like, oh my gosh, like it's almost like you get smacked in the face with energy.
Yes.
Social energy.
Yes.
And then my first time, I remember after like 3 weeks, I was like, I can't hang. I need to just go in a dark room for a week. But then you kind of get like, it's like getting in shape for it. And then you just know, like all those vets know, lights, camera, action, basically.
Yes.
Go.
Yes.
And that's the thing. And you're right. It's a lot. It's like almost like matchable social energy.
100%. Like I remember sitting down with Corey, we just chilling, talking, whatever. As soon as the camera comes in, so Chanelle, tell me about your why. I was like,
Oh yeah.
You really turn it on.
And I guarantee you there was a producer behind the camera person around the corner who looked at Corey and was like,
Yeah.
I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Because like here's the thing, if a camera walks in a room, the producers hate it when you just stop talking.
Yeah.
Like if they walk into a room, they appreciate it when you're like, okay, I'm here to do a job, camera's here. Maybe he didn't want to talk about games, so he was like, let's at least get a meaningful conversation.
Yeah.
And then boom, they leave, and then Corey probably snapped right back into like chilling.
Yeah.
That's you're right. That hits it on the head because while it is nothing's scripted, you know as a vet when the cameras come around, you're like, okay, I got to give them. They're in here for a reason. So if I just keep talking about like my favorite donut in New York City, like the producer's gonna be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So there's been times where like they've walked in and I look at it, like if I'm close with them, I look at them like, come on, I'm just trying to chill. And then I snap up, give them like this conversation about whatever that, and then they leave. And I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah. Pay your dues.
But yeah, you're right. Like you don't, like we know that because it's like, it's almost like you do it 13, 14, 27 times.
You
like,
learn how to produce a show.
Oh yeah.
Right. Versus me, I'm just like, we were just talking about pizza. Like, you want me to,
Yeah, now I got to tell you why I'm here.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. So, but it's honestly, playing with vets is literally just like a master class. Like it really is. It's
I know.
truly incredible. So if I ever do play again, I have so much more that I understand about how it works and, how you have to be, which, it's just gonna,
and
take
what
with you.
and what a season to make a final in, because you had the opportunity to compete against some of the great men and women in your your era. You had Tori on this challenge, you had a Bananas, you had a Wes. That's a big deal.
To see, though. So because you, Michaela and Desi, like in that first part of that final, the physicality, like let's see who can handle lactic acid. You guys destroyed Tori. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Like I said to Michaela and I said to him, these Survivor girls are a problem on the challenge because and then when we talked to Desi, she was like, they made it look like it was really close, but it really wasn't. And she's a physical phenomenon. She's a beast. She's a beast.
She's a beast.
So for me to see that and just understand athletics in the show and be like, damn, that's huge. But I would have really liked to seen like, you know what, like let's do this. Give me you three and maybe a couple of just absolute savages from the first USA, and then literally let's do like the 5 best girls from CBS, and then add like Cara, Laurel, and maybe like 1 or 2 more, and do the same thing on each side. Because I think the guys might be a little bit, but I don't think the girls would be. I think you guys would physically give a lot of them a run because that was impressive.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, listen, shout out to Tori. She's a beast. She
absolutely
performed so well throughout the dailies. Again, like seeing vets at work was like, damn. But you know what it is? I think with Survivor, you're so used to like performing on 0 or nothing, like starvation, that like when it's time to turn it on, you just turn it on,
like,
you know?
Like when you're doing Survivor, you're like, I'm too tired and hungry to get butterflies or be nervous about this.
Yeah.
On the challenge, you're like, holy crap, I have a stomach full of food and I could have had pre-workout with Dusty.
Yeah.
Lit as fuck.
Yeah. Like you're like you, I think you said in the first episode, you were like, wait a second, like I got a bed.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, and that makes total sense. You guys are so used to doing everything while suffering where it's like the final is whatever.
Yeah.
It's like in Survivor, you are playing with your life on the line every single time, but in the challenge, you have a chance to play like again, right? If you get voted in, you get to fight for your life.
Right.
You don't get that luxury on Survivor, and so we just learn to scrap, to play, to do all that stuff from the beginning.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it definitely was a hard final. It was a stacked final, but like it was anyone's game. Like going into the final, I was like, y'all are all smart. Y'all are all strong. Y'all are all like very, very good. You guys have all proven that. I was the only one who hadn't won a daily, like an individual one leading into the final. And so, you know, I think that it was like, maybe I was slightly underestimated, but I think everyone was just like a very, very like big threat in their own rights.
Well, I don't think you were, because every single person that had come in here had said, like, even though you hadn't won one of the individual dailies, they were like, every single person was like she was top girl in every single challenge. Like, and there's something to be said about like people who will get first and then a last and then a first, then middle of the road and then last. And then there's also if you get second, then third, then second, then fourth, and you're just always in that top tier, like people notice that. Yeah. Like, oh, you didn't win any of them, but you also didn't finish worse than 5th in any challenge. Yeah. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Right. And I can't believe I didn't start the show reminding everybody about the beautiful rebounder. And you almost,
my God.
That was probably one of my favorite one-liners in the whole season.
A round of applause for the beautiful rebounder, please. Stunning, gorgeous, everything,
amazing,
every adjective
beautiful.
First, all that, smart, whatever. But I just did synonyms of beautiful because that was your word. But everything above rebounder, you almost had that one. I think if you got in your nerves a little bit, or else you would have had it.
Yo, I'm gonna be honest with you.
That concludes the free preview of the Zach Nichols podcast.
So go to Patreon and subscribe to see the rest of the shit that we talk.
Go do it now.